Right this way, milord. Penstroke's son, Gold Coin, was beyond happy to guide the changeling about the palace. In the last 30 minutes, Pan had received enough love energy from the Crystal Heart to keep him going for the next 10 years. Gold Coin, on the other hoof, met the amount and then doubled it in 10 seconds flat. Hero worship is such a powerful thing. The little crystal colt, an earth pony with a silver coat and brilliantly bright gold mane and tail. If you need to be told what his cutie mark is, you obviously did not pay attention to the name. Was a bundle of energy, love, and otherwise. The little fellow could not stand still and was practically pronking with every step. It was hard to believe that only half an hour before he had been in chains and in abject misery. "Here's your bedroom, milord," Gold said, grinning cheerfully. "We're getting the fresh linens prepared for you, and we'll have them in place by nightfall." The room in question was spectacular. It was larger than most houses that the changeling had seen. It was incredibly, unspeakably clean. The kind that requires some pony having come in every day for the last 10 years and polishing everything. Several massive windows let in the sunlight, and the room was filled with obviously valuable furniture. The 4-poster bed alone could have held 20 changelings, and given them enough space to spread their limbs and wings in all directions. This was a bed built for alicorns. The entire room was a vision of extreme, unspeakable opulence. It's good to be king. Better to be an emperor. Having seen the location of his bedroom, Pan was ready to see the rest of his new home, and was about to say so to Gold when he noticed the wistful expression on the young colt's face as he stared at the bed. It seemed that, regardless of the species and regardless of the era, children were the same all over. "You want to jump on it?" Gold Coin looked up at the changeling, and after a moment, a sad look crossed his face as he said, "I cannot. It is not allowed." A thoughtful expression crossed the changeling's face. "I'm pretty sure," Pan said, a slow smile blooming on his features, "that if I say it's allowed it, then it's allowed it." The colt's expression became one of pure and unfiltered surprise. "You mean," nodding, Pan took on a regal pose, then said, in an exaggeratedly formal voice, "I, Emperor Pandinus Imperator the First, ruler of the Crystal Empire and all who doth dwell within, do hereby grant you permission to go jump up and down atop the royal bed like a little mad pony for the next 5 minutes." Gold Coin gave a court bow, happily exclaimed, "Yes, milord," then leapt, clearing the distance between the doorway and the bed in a single, seemingly impossible bound. Upon landing, he promptly began to enthusiastically obey his emperor's orders. Pan, on the other hoof, sat back and watched the youngster give the bed a serious once-over, a bemused expression on the changeling's face. A moment later, a maid walked in with the fresh linen, and saw the colt bouncing ecstatically atop the bed, the new emperor watching, smiling. Noticing her, the changeling turned and said, "Extremely important emperor business in progress. Please wait a moment." The maid, a crystal Pegasus who was, at the very oldest, 14 years of age, giggled. She said, "Certainly, milord." After his 5 minutes was up, Gold hopped off the bed, then returned to the Emperor with a bow. "Thank you for that, my lord. Are you ready to resume your tour of the palace?" Nodding, Pan said, "Certainly, please lead the way." Nodding to the maid, the changeling added, "Thank you for your patience. Carry on." The maid gave a curtsy, giggled again, then walked over to the bed. When the colt and the changeling left the room, the maid was humming merrily to herself as she placed the linen upon the bed. "Are you alone?" Wild Wing, secret agent of the princesses, currently disguised as a maid, nodded, touched a small stud in one ear, and said, "Yes, your highness. I have a report to make. You will not believe what has happened today." "Here are the royal bats, my lord," Gold Coin said. A few minutes later, hot water is pumped into this room via the complex mechanisms connected to a natural hot springs deep beneath the city. If you desire a hot bath, one can be prepared for you any time, day or night. Please bear in mind," he added as an afterthought, "that while the smaller washing tub can be prepared within 5 minutes of your request, the grand bath requires almost half an hour. The good news is, once the grand bath is filled, enchantments placed within it will keep the water heated for several hours if need be. A cold bath is also available and can be completed in half the time." Now, this was impressive to see. Pan had seen bathhouses in various kingdoms throughout his time with the Swarm, and this one could have easily fallen into the category of luxury baths. The washing tub, as Gold put it, was roughly the size and shape of an extra-large hot tub, and the grand bath, well, it was basically a small swimming pool. More impressive was the craft pony ship of the entire affair. This had obviously been built not just to impress the locals, but foreign dignitaries as well. The floors, walls, and ceilings were covered with an impressive mosaic pattern of small crystal tiles. The amount of work that would have gone into building this was staggering, given that this was 1,000 years old. Considering that this was 1,000 years before what Pan considered the modern era. Gold Coin added, "I also have servants available to assist you in washing yourself anytime you please, as well as to assist you in dressing yourself once you are done. Some forms of legal regalia and court dress can be incredibly difficult to put on by yourself, and the staff is willing and able to aid you in cleaning any and all hard-to-reach places." Clearing his throat, Gold added in a tone implying he was reciting this from memory, "The bat servants are not here to provide any services beyond that. If you have any special needs that you wish to have met, please notify the Chancellor. He will make the necessary arrangements for you." The colt was now visibly blushing. "Well, we could never dream of telling you what to do. It is recommended that you exercise good judgment in any romantic liaisons you may pursue. Illegitimate children can cause a number of problems later down the line." Gold's face was now bright red. Pan would be blushing himself, if he wasn't already bright blue due to his defect. This was not a conversation he had planned on having with a young colt today. Seriously, a 6-year-old had told him formally not to hit on the staff. That if he wanted to have a flank call made, all he had to do was notify the Chancellor, and that he should not try to knock any mares up. that he wasn't married too? The Chancellor really should have mentioned that himself instead of having his son do it. Not cool. Well, it was a different time, I suppose. Children grew up fast in the past. Well, that's more than enough on the subject. Do we have a wine cellar? I could really use a drink right now. Much more relaxed, Gold nodded, then said, "Certainly, Your Majesty. We'll head over there now. The Royal Tap Master will be happy to oblige us." Most changelings don't drink. It's not because they can't. While they lack the ability to digest solids, they can still ingest liquids. But because alcohol is very difficult to obtain, given their migratory nature, there was no changeling vineyards, no changeling breweries. There were changeling meth labs once, but it was stopped abruptly when it was discovered that crystal meth makes a changeling's head explode. No, that was not a metaphor. What spirits they desired had to be stolen. Pan's role, in the time after an invasion had succeeded, was to raid the wine cellars and taverns for good booze, so they could celebrate the victory properly. Naturally, he had always kept the really good stuff for himself. Booze helped him forget about his personal issues, at least for a while. Anyway, due to this, Pan had seen a few wine cellars, but this one put them all to shame. The cellars beneath the Crystal Palace was stocked with hundreds of massive kegs of beer, bottles of fine wine, and casks of much more exotic liquors. "They have all 32 flavors," Pan said, with a voice tinged with awe. A massive pony, sporting limbs as thick as tree trunks, and a dark brown coat with a close-cropped, cream-colored mane, carried a keg nearly as big as he was, stepped into view, then said, "My lord, if some pony claims we only have 32 types of spirits within these halls, I will call them out to be a slanderer. There does not exist in Equestria, or anywhere else in the world, a collection that can come close to rivaling our own." Extending his foreleg, the giant said, "Malted barley, the royal tapmaster, at your service, my lord." Pan shook the massive hoof, then said, "Pandinus Imperator, it's a pleasure to meet you, Malt. Now, I am in need of a drink." The changeling suddenly realized something that he had nearly forgotten to do. While I do so, though, there's a ritual I need to observe. Do you happen to know what Sombra's favorite was? The Tapmaster's expression turned thoughtful as he said, "I think I know the ritual you speak of, my lord. I'll return with the bottle you'll need shortly." With that, malted barley turned and disappeared into the depths of the cellar. Looking up at the changeling, Goldcoin asked, "What ritual, my lord?" With a faraway expression on his face, Pan said, "Where I come from, it's commonly known as pouring one out. But you would probably know it better as libation. Think of it as offering for the goodwill of the one who is no longer here. It is typically done in memory of the dead." The Colt's expression of disbelief was priceless as he asked, "And you're going to do it for King Sombra?" Goldcoin's tone implied that this was one of the stupidest things that he had ever heard. Given that only an hour ago, King Sombra had been making this colt's life a living Tartarus. His reaction wasn't surprising. But someone should, Pan said, his expression solemn. You're a little young to understand it, but, well, it's a tradition. A very, very old tradition. It's normally done in memory of friends or loved ones, but sometimes it is done in the memory of enemies as well. My father used to do it any time one of his foes passed away. The changeling silently added, although he would typically say, Here's something to wash my piss out of your mouth when he did so. Changeling aristocracy were not a refined lot, nor were they very nice. Anyway, it's said that the ones who are gone get to drink the liquor that is poured out for them in their name, Pan concluded, nodding to the tapmaster, who was returning with a pair of goblets and a bottle of wine. Maybe it's just superstition, but it's one I try to observe whenever I can. And I doubt anyone else will pour one out for him. Since I was the one who killed him, it's only right that I do the honors. The Crystal Pony nodded, then poured a generous serving into one of the goblets. With a solemn expression, Molt handed the goblet over and said, Sombra was a monster. The world is a better place for him gone. But I will admit, he knew his spirits. This is a bottle of wine from the Griffin's vineyard. Very hard to get. The Griffins almost never export it, and typically only give it as a gift to royalty. This one was sent to the old king as a wedding gift. It's, well, it's the very last one we have. Sombra drank the rest, and was probably saving this last one for a very special occasion. The Griffiths vineyard would be practically legendary in Pan's time, mainly because about 100 years from now, a terrible war would break out, and the vineyards would be destroyed during one of the bloodiest battles the Griffin kingdoms would ever see. Some sort of magic had been unleashed over the course of the battle, poisoning the soil, or perhaps cursing it. Anything else grew just fine, but whoever had worked the dark spell had wanted to rob the kingdom of their most famous product. 900 years later, only 3 bottles remained, and no pony was going to drink them, ever. If Pan had possessed some way of taking this bottle back to the modern age, he could probably sell it for more money than he could imagine. And Pan had a great imagination. Pluck it. It will be 100 years before the vineyards will be gone, and he was an emperor now. If he wanted to, he could go personally to whoever the king of the Griffins was right now and buy as many bottles as he could carry. Besides, Pan couldn't help but wonder if this would be as good as they said it would be. Pan took the offered chalice, then said, I pour this out in the memory of King Sombra. He began as he emptied the goblet on the floor, his expression and tone still solemn. Who died before his time, although many would argue it was nowhere near soon enough. I hope they serve beer in Tartarus, because if they don't, I doubt you're going to get another drink anytime soon. Either way, savor it. After the changeling finished, the tapmaster refilled the cup with a grin. Pan grinned in return, then said, because I know I will. Pan emptied the entire cup in one go. Silently, he added, I'm not sorry you're dead, Sombra, but I am sorry that I'm the one who killed you. The wine was good, very good, although not as spectacular as legend made it out to be. Pan had tasted better. Not often, but once or twice.